So here I am at my house, hanging out in the evening with Vinod Somareddy. Vinod and I have known each other for a very, very long time. And, he's just done fantastic things with this practice. We've probably spent 1 day a week hanging out together for how long?
Since probably 2014.
Since 2014. So there's a lot I know about this guy. Most of it's not suitable for video. But I'd like to introduce Vinod. I'd like him just to kind of tell his story of, how he got to where he can run his practice from over 1,100 miles away. Tell your story.
Thanks, Shaun. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You would have been here anyway.
Yeah, totally. We just move some things around.
Yeah, we just we don't normally turn the camera on when we're hanging out, but why not?
Yeah. We gotta sit straight and everything. Well, I started my practice in 2003. I'm out of New York, so we started 2003. Actually, November 2nd, 2 days ago, was our anniversary. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
16 years. Good.
Yeah, 16 years. So, small little office, about 1,500 rentable square feet, which is like 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
And I was 27, 28 years old and just trying to get it to go in a very competitive area in Great Neck, which is in Long Island, which is about 30 minutes from the city. And I was fortunate enough to actually meet, people don't know this, I actually took the new patient course Shaun had offered in 2003, April actually. I came, didn't have a practice or nothing, and I showed up, this young guy with, like a little bit of a hope to compete. And I took the course. It was a 2-day course over the weekend, and it was delivered by Shaun and his partner, Jeff, and we just basically, I basically left there like, holy smoke, like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to get this thing going? And fortunate enough, I had enough of an insight to start to use a little bit of what we talked about, in that conference or that 2-day lecture. And, we grew, and we came back. I couldn't really jump all that stuff into progress immediately because I didn't have a practice. But within about a year and a half, I was starting to do better, and I showed up to Shaun's doorsteps, itching for more help. And so we started doing some training. I started doing some executive training. And look, the reality for me is that we didn't learn anything in PT school, and it was valuable to me to be able to kind of have something to go by, for sure. And fortunately enough for us, it fit me very well and what I thought was appropriate at the time. Did some training, and we grew the thing. We brought on some key hires. It wasn't everything at once. We started bringing on some good PTs, obviously in the beginning, and then eventually a lot more PTs and executive. We brought on Alex Gomez, who's our CEO, Manuel Marzinski, who's our VP of Public Relations. She came on in 2011, 12, and I think Alex started 2010.
And Alex is your CEO.
Yeah, and they're both still there. And then we have another gal who's a PT that was actually an aide, and then she eventually
went to PT school.
Yeah, she went to PT school. She was actually my assistant, but it was not even like an assistant for real, because she was like a very low waged helper. Go take this to the mail and do this. And so I got to work with her, and she was great. Now she actually went to PT school, and she's our vice president of operations, who runs the operations of the company. So over time, we continued to do a lot more training. I stayed in touch with Shaun very closely throughout the entire time, and I still very much do. You're absolutely right. We spend at least 3 hours, I'd say between 2 to 3 hours a week on average. We calculate the numbers over the course of the last 4 years. We'd be like, definitely, if we crunch it into like a year, we could get engaged or something,
I
know. But I wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
Yeah, we'd have to explain some things to our spouses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I don't think they'd be too happy about that, because it would have added up to becoming that, and all these little hangouts would have not really been fruitful for them.
Exactly.
They're thinking it's going to be fruitful, right?
Yeah. So you over the course of time that you worked with me and at my past company and not now, and where are you in terms of like patient volume today compared to where you started?
Yeah, so when I started doing any sort of training with you guys, I would say it's about 150 to 200 patients seen a week, and we're up around...
You were at that time just playing the new patient course.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. There's nothing else that we did. And now we're up around 2,200 a week. So it's a different ball game, and
11x.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So good. And so how much have you grown in just the past 12 months?
We've grown a lot. We actually did the new patient numbers from October 1st of 18 to October 1st of 19, and it's about a 40% growth in new patients. That's a definitive number.
And that's why I want you here. Is when you have that kind of a growth and where you have 600, 700, 800 visits more patient volume than you had the prior year. I mean, when you consider that the typical PT practice, 83% of them generate $500,000 a year, which represents like 115 patient visits a week. To have a growth of 800 in just 1 year is pretty phenomenal. And what that does require you to do is you got to bring on staff, and you got to bring them on quick, and you got to get them grouped in fast. So I wanted to have Vinod in on our talk that we had, and wanted him to share some of his kind of more nuanced, successful actions that they've applied at ReadyCare Physical Therapy and Occupational Therapy. And why don't we just start with what are and really where they're itching is how do you find guys, right? So what kind of things do you guys do?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that we've always made it a senior policy in our company to make sure that we recruit at all times, no matter what. Recruit, apprentice, and hat people. When I say hat, it's just train them, right? And apprentices to make sure you take the time to show them how to do their job in a hand-to-hand fashion. And the key thing there is to recruit. So we, our CEO and I have always been involved with recruiting. If he's doing an interview or we're putting out ads, we're always putting that as a senior priority because it is what you need to do to expand. I mean, we don't have staff turnover. We don't really have too much of that at all. We do have needs to help other personnel in the company through the growth process, and it does take some time to interview some people. So you're not going to find Snow White or Peter Pan, or maybe not Peter Pan.
I don't know. Let's not go.
Who's Snow White's equivalent?
Prince Charming.
Yes,
there
Prince
you
Charming. Yeah, you're not going to find those two.
Peter Pan. Okay, good.
I just went right for the green.
Yeah.
I went right for the green.
Right for the green.
Matches the snow.
Yeah.
Anyway. But anyway, I think the key thing there was to always look for people to come in and really develop our interviewing skills. Have appropriate questions there and really get to know the person in the interview. Really listen to them. Listen to what they say about their prior employer. Ask questions around it. We like to call, the concept of pulling a string. Somebody says something, we go into the interview. If they say, hey, my last employer, things didn't work out so well. Then I turn around and say, okay, so was it mutual? And they would say, well, it didn't work out so well, but yeah, it was mutual. So tell me a little more about that. So what happened? And they would say, well, it was a problem with documentation or a problem with, whatever our billing. Okay, I understand. So what kind of issues did you have? Did you not get trained? And then go on and on and on, right? So we start to discover what they thought was not appropriate about their last job, because that's going to be a reflection of what they're going to come into our job with, right? They're not going to have that skill set in there. And then just to kind of switch it over a little bit, we are very, very transparent with our staff. We've been very open about, our numbers. We've been also very important, transparent with them about, their requests. Sometimes they'll have requests for situations that come everything from pay, or they want to know how they're doing, or they want to know about certain situations that come up. For example, right now we're coming up to potential Medicare cut, and we had a therapist ask us for what was a 10%, 10 to 12% increase in his pay. And we just talked to him and said, look, we really like you. He's doing a great job. Patients love him. But we also told him, hey, look, this is the economics of what occurs with the volume of patients you're seeing, to the amount of money that we might be losing, perhaps also on what you're requesting. For example, if you're requesting 10%, well, how am I going to make that up, right? Is that going to be made up by you seeing, 10% more patients? So we kind of did the math with him a little bit. He understood, okay, that makes sense. And we let him know too, he's doing a great job. So we have these transparent conversations throughout the process of the job. That's a bit more HR, but I think, Shaun, you really want to know how to get a therapist. What are we up against?
I think what we run into, and you've had it, and I've had it, and everybody has it. You've got this staff, and you go, I'm good. And then, and now you have to get the word out. And, he gave a 2-week notice, and you can't drop a therapist in 2 weeks. So how do you guys cover that? I mean, how many PTs do you have working for you?
We have about 50, 60 therapists working for the company,
Right.
so it definitely becomes a bit more easier to have somebody fill in and so forth. But in a growing company, it's not always a solution, right? Because you take from here, you're going to be hurt over here. So it's not the way to do it. We've been pretty strategic. We use Indeed as an example, and we put a considerable amount of money behind Indeed to look at. We look at data from Indeed. We look at data from any place we put money to recruit for. We look at the data. We look at the analytics very carefully to understand what our competitors are putting out there. What kind of ads do they have? What are they promoting? And a lot of times I feel like PTs, they kind of put an ad out and they say, wow, I'm putting a good salary out there. I'm putting a good benefit package out there. Doing all this stuff. But they don't realize that they might have an ATI or a bigger company that's a corporate company that's just putting out killer stuff. And their argument is, well, I can't do that. But if you really dig into it and do your homework, there's certain things like vision and dental that won't cost you a lot of money. I mean, 401ks are 401ks, but it is a big part for a person to really look at a company who gives them a 401k because it is an advantage for them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put your ads together, you have to really look at what your competitors are doing, make sure the ad itself is very, very effective to tailor it up against that competitor, and know that when you're sitting in the PT shoes looking to make a decision about which place he's going to interview at, that's the first thing they're going to look at. They're going to look at your ad. They may look at some of your reviews. They may look at, your ratings. They may look at your pictures, whatever you have. But believe it or not, what we hear from our therapists a lot is that they really do research on our website. They look at our Instagram page, look at our Facebook page. They look at some of the general reviews from our patients. Look at that.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like you're looking. Someone's making a career move, right? And certainly there's the dollars, the cents, the what's in it for me, the benefit structure, and those things. And you want to try to be as competitive as you can, but not everybody can. So if you can't make it up with competitiveness, you got to bring it with spirit and excitement and the PR of your place and some good photography and what it looks like, what's the experience like, right? And so, can you touch base on like the value of when they go and look at your website, what they get out of it, or what they do when they see you on the Facebook page and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. It's a great point, Shaun. So we have a pretty modern facility, and it doesn't take very much money to make a modern facility, right? You put some money into it, you get some nice floors, you make sure you paint it every so often, you get some pretty good equipment. And I've seen a lot of our competitors, they just don't have really nice facilities. So that's the first thing we hear all the time, is that our videos and our pictures are really, we do exploit the beauty of the facility, the staff, the smiling staff. And I think that goes a long way for people to see what it is. I think all platforms, people look at all platforms. They'll look on Instagram, they'll look on LinkedIn, they'll look at Facebook, they'll look at wherever they can find pictures of it. But a lot of it's a website. A lot of it really is a website. And they're looking for truth in the website. So you get a website and it's stock images about, and it's stock images because there's no real, you can't dig deeper into it, right? So you can't kind of go into it a little bit and say, okay, here's a video that's done, or this is true because the picture here matches up to the video. So you really want to put out some really good stock pictures. And with the technology we have right now, I mean, you could put out pretty good pictures pretty easily and some simple videos of the office. Some therapists in the middle of the country and around have huge offices. I mean, it's pretty nice. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been working exclusively with PTs for 20 plus years, and sometimes you go to the guy's website and you'll see like meet my staff, and it's a picture of the owner, and like, well, then he's the only one there, and then you can't find anything on his website, and you go digging around into Facebook and you go, wow, this guy's got a 10,000 square foot facility, right? Now imagine this guy's advertising trying to find staff. They're going to go to the website, then they're going to go to Facebook, then they're going to try to find an idea of like, what's the staff like? What do they look like? Do they look happy? And you can't find pictures of them. And to me, what that tells me is that guy can't hold on to staff. He doesn't want to have the investment of taking their picture because they just might leave, right? And so you want to be able to see that and what the group really loves to be there, and they are part of the family. So include them in all family photographs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the point I'm trying to make too in all of this is that there's not a silver bullet to all of it. There's not like one thing you can do, put a massive ad out, or you put out a super huge, success story of getting on some sort of social media platform, or like on TV or something that kind of pushes you up, because candidates really do look at everything.
Yeah, so it's a long range play, guys. It's not, if you need someone today, don't start building your website, right? But once you start getting manned up, start looking at long term survival, because it's like I used to, when guys would come down to do our new patient course years ago, and they'd all be in a room, and I would say, how many more patient visits can you guys see with your current clinical staff? How about you? And the guy would go, 10.
That's true.
How about you? 12. How about you? 50. All right. You need to be here. How about you? Right? And the guy's like, 15. Right? And I go, like, guys, what if this worked? What if it actually got you new patients? What if it actually helped your practice grow? You're going to have to recruit. So let's start getting ready for it. And so, that activity starts with a long-range plan. And that long-range plan certainly includes recruiting for therapists, but like, what do we look like before they get to look at us, right? And so, that those types of things are important. Start putting out a little bit of, video content, some photographs here and there. Get your website looking a little bit cleaner and better, but think of it in the long run. Again, that's not like stop, drop, and roll, but you can't get to the size of Vinod's practice if you didn't dress it up. Otherwise, he would be having to promote a lot heavier, and he wouldn't be able to leverage the PR that he's gathered. How about you? You've been using LinkedIn too for a while too. So how
Sure.
does that? How do you roll with that?
I took an initiative to really learn about LinkedIn quite a bit, and what I just started doing is I started friending a lot of therapists, and this is just because I wanted to. Of course, we want therapists. There's no doubt about it. So I'm not going to lie and say wasn't not interested in that part of it. But I just was interested in getting to know a lot of therapists, and I've amassed like almost 6,000, I think, contacts. Not all therapists, but my goal was to get to know a lot of therapists, and over time, what I've been doing is sending them messages on LinkedIn, and I'll send them, pretty much a rote message to connect, and thanking them for their connection when they do connect up. And sometimes therapists will reach in and ask me for a job opportunity. Some of them will ask questions, and I'll stay right on top of it, because it's a great platform, LinkedIn, because you get an opportunity to really keep it business. There's no personal things. There's no politics. There's no, hey, I worked at Joe's place and Joe really a bum, and I want to come work for you. That's not acceptable. What's acceptable there is a real professional communication. And for all of us that are professionals, obviously, it's easy to have that communication and talk about it. And, obviously making sure your LinkedIn picture is up to speed, your bio, what you're talking about is there. And it should be a thankful for connecting with them flow, right? It's not a, hey, connect with me because I'm awesome. That's fine and good, but people should want to connect with you because you're a professional in the area. You're in the area. They never know on their side of it. They may need a job. They may need a reference. They might just want to come by your office for PT one day. They might want to recommend their family to you. And it just has multiple things going on with it. Again, it's a bit of a longer range plan, but if you actually are in an area where you can amass all your PTs, and it's very easy to find on LinkedIn, you can amass all the PTs in the area, you can have just dialogue with them. And it's very easy with LinkedIn because it's no different than going in text messaging on the message part of it. And you stay in communication with them, and you'll find that sometimes they'll offer a lot of different things. So I think it's been a strategy that I've personally been using, and I'll tell you, I haven't used it with my company. Like, I haven't had my company go and find guys. It's not about that. It's more about you as the owner establishing who you are and making sure people understand that you are, professional in this space, and that you know what it's like to be out there. You're engaging and you're approachable. Really, because that's what people want to know, is they can actually approach you. I've had people reach back to me that we didn't hire for various reasons, and they reach back out to me and say, hey, just wondering if you're trying to hire. We have an occupational therapist, for example. She wants to work for us, and we don't have an opening for her right now in the clinic, but she keeps sending me a message every month. Hey, Vinod, just wondering if you're opening, or you want to do something. And
now, when did you bring occupational therapy in?
It's been about a year, I'd say, less than a year. December of last year, the end of it's the end of December of last year we started.
And how many patient visits a week are you doing?
I think we're around 250 to 300 a week in that. Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
good.
It's good.
So, folks, we can go on, but I hope that this data had served some purpose there and helpful for you. I really look at just to kind of close out. If you got any questions, of course, let me know. I'll get them over to Vinod and see if he can throw something in on that. But truthfully, you have to act. If you're going to grow your practice, you have to grow your staff. And there's nothing more frustrating for a client, or even myself sometimes, to see a practice go like this and then it goes like this because there's no staff, right? And sometimes you grow like this and you flatten like this because there's no room in the inn. Get another inn, right? Knock a wall out. But when it flattens because you didn't have the foresight to have prediction back when things were going upward, to start looking, bad sign. So always look for personnel. It's also good PR. Even if you don't need a therapist, when you're out there promoting, it puts a message out there that you're expanding. And sometimes when you just keep putting it out there, sometimes it just happens. So thank you, Vinod.
Thank you, Shaun.
Right.
Appreciate
it. And we'll
it.
turn this thing off and then have some more fun.
Yes.
All right.
We always do.
See you, folks.
Bye.